host.
Hi.
So,
Welcome.
thank you. Would you tell us about Estia and a little background and history, yours personally, and the restaurant, and why it's Mexican, and like that?
Okay, I'll get started with the segue. We have a drink here that we call Liquid Sunshine, and it's made with mezcal, pineapple, and lime juice.
Really?
It's very popular. So there's a little segue.
Okay.
Thank you all for being here. Welcome to Estia's Little Kitchen. This is the second of my Estia properties. The first one was in Amagansett. I bought it in 1991. It was owned by a Greek family. And I started out with a diner. And prior to that, I had been in the publishing business. And my life was all about liquor. I was part of a team that started the first magazine that was specific to beverage alcohol for bar and restaurant owners. It was called Top Shelf. And in 1984, we went to each state's liquor control board to gain access to their list of licensees because of the Freedom of Information Act. And we created a what they call in the publishing industry a controlled list of 360,000 bar and restaurant owners. I was a bartender at the time. I just happened to be bartending when the two executives that started the magazine came into my bar. And the only reason I was bartending was because I couldn't find a job in the magazine business. So I think I was in the right place at the right time. We took that magazine out, and it was very successful. And after 6 years, I went on to work for Interview Magazine, and then I became the liquor specialist at a magazine at Hearst called Connoisseur. And in 1991, I came into the job that I thought I was going to have for the rest of my life, and I was handed a severance check. And that's when I decided that the publishing industry may not have room for me. And I showed this check for $8,000 to a lady who owned Estia in Amagansett, and I asked her if she'd take back a note, and 10 days later I hired her staff, and I opened with her menu because I had no money. And it's this has all bubbled up from that day.
Interesting. So you couldn't get a job in publishing, so you went into the other field that is known for its wild successes and
in faraway Amagansett.
And faraway Amagansett, the restaurant business.
Yeah.
What were you drinking?
Well, that's another funny story. So I was a tequila drinker for a long time, and interesting story for me as it ties into why I do Mexican food and why I'm so enamored with Mexico. When I was in college, I went to Utah State, and our options for spring break skewed to Mexico, and I hitchhiked to Nogales, Arizona, and I took a train from Nogales to Mazatlan. And about halfway through this train ride, I'm 18 years old, and the bottle is being passed around of mezcal. I didn't know what mezcal was. I had never heard of it. And I was handed the bottle, and I was happy to indulge. And I took a big hit off this bottle. And the guy that handed it to me wanted to kill me because I got the worm. And he was passing this bottle around because he wanted to get it to the point where the worm would. And I got it, and I must tell you, I spent the rest of the trip between the cars dancing like a boneless chicken. And whether it had those properties or not doesn't matter. I believed it, and I was far enough along in the trip that it was a lot of fun. So I got down to Mazatlan, and all we ate was tacos. That was part of the package. And the tacos were served with limes, and they were every flavor imaginable, and they were so simple, and I was immediately taken by the combination of flavors with chilies and lime. And it became an easy thing for this kid from the Western United States in college. I like to cook for my roommates. I happened to have two roommates that grew up on a ranch in Idaho, and they would bring everything down from the ranch, potatoes and venison and lamb, and they'd hang it in the basement until it was time, and I was the cook. And I wasn't the cook because I had training in a cook. I was the guy that didn't bring anything else, so I had. And so as time went by, now I was 30 years old. I was starting a family. I owned a restaurant. I looked around and I realized that I had to become the chef because I was paying the chef more than I was paying myself. And I called my friend Charlie Palmer and I asked him if I could spend some time at his kitchen, and he allowed me to stage at Oreo. And I started to learn how to stage. So every winter for 11 years, I would go to another restaurant I staged at Bayona, I staged at Vita in LA, I spent 4 weeks on the pasta station at Union Square. That was my last one. And Michael Romano called me into his office and he said, the guy that's following you is here now, you can go. But it was a wonderful way for me to learn a lot about the global idea of cooking. And my business did very, very well. I happened to get here at the right time. 1991 was, the waves were just starting to crash on the beach in Amagansett, and by 96 I had paid all my debt, and the opportunity, my accountant said, Colin, you're going to have to start paying taxes, so I think you should start looking for another place. And I said, well, that's great. And at this point, my landlord and I were best friends, and so I said to him, what I really want to do is buy the property wherever I go next. And he said, well, good luck with that. Just keep trying. And you know, God works in strange ways. If He wants you to have something, you get it, and that's why I'm here today. This was the one place that I could afford. And I had put enough money together to have the 10% down to buy this restaurant, and in 1998 I came here and I decided that it should be Estia's Little Kitchen because people knew what Estia was. Estia kind of represented breakfast and lunch, and our dinner program was specific to pasta at the time. But the team that I brought here was all of Mexican descent. And one day, this fellow, Carlos Pinzon, walked in the front door about 6 months after I got here. And he had a leopard skin haircut. He was a Green Day fan. And he spoke English beautifully. And he said, can I have a job? And I said, well, sure, you know. And he was a busboy. And Carlos, 3 months later, said, my friend Miguel needs a job. Would you give him a job? And now I look around and all these people. All these people are descendants of Carlos Pinzon. And what I can tell you is I'm proud of the fact that we've raised people here. Luis, who's been passing around, he joined me when he was 4 years old. We went to Mexico City. And he's going to be going to Johnson & Wales in the fall.
Oh, great.
We're very proud of that. So that's a little bit about what's happened here, and it's really been a daily process. We grow some of our own food. We try to share the love with the people that come through the front door. My staff at this point, we have regulars that literally have their drinks on the table before they get here because they see their cars in the parking lot. And that's how we've created a year-round business on the east end of Long Island. So the Mexican piece of things has come through that relationship. And I've been to Mexico 18 times since then. And I come back with ideas and I talk to my team about it. And that's how our cuisine rolls. I think that, you know, one of the things we wanted to talk about was tacos.
Tacos, and specifically tortillas.
Tortillas. I can honestly tell you, as much as I'd like to be here making tortillas myself, we don't make tortillas here. We would need a facility to make tortillas. If you ever want to see one of the most impressive Mexican restaurants in the world and you're in Mexico City, there's a restaurant there called El Bajillo. It is definitely worth a visit. They have a comal and 2 people running a tortilla making station there.
Those people are women?
Well, I think they are. I think it's better you say that
because
than
a
me.
Mexican cook once said to me, I can't imagine a man slapping a tortilla.
No, and they are women. And when I was there, it was a mother and her daughter. And then there is a chicharron station there. and there's a juice station there. And it's all spread out, and they serve about 150 people. And it's in a part of town that you don't go into at night, and that's okay. And they've created a whole industry out of that.
So where do you get your tortillas?
I get my tortillas from Brooklyn. And you know, I can rely on them. I mean, you know, I love restaurants that make their own tortillas, but they're set up, they're big, they have financial backing. We don't have a lot of that here. So we do make our own tamales. And I'm very proud of the tamales they make. People ask me why they're so good, and I say little Mexican hands. I mean, really, it's made with love. They don't want to make tamales all the time when I ask them to, but they do. And they're made 10 or 15 at a time, and when they're done, they're sold out. I did once go to, I spent some time in Guadalajara, and Tonalá, and Tequila. And I went with Michael Sinque, who owns Amagansett Wines and Spirits. He's one of my best friends. And when we were driving there, we went to this tamale place. And they literally close when they sell the last tamale. And I was so impressed with it. That's all they sell is tamales. They have 6 different toppings, and they've got these, you know, banks of refrigerators with brightly colored sodas in them. And I can't quite do that here, but we do have a rhythm here that's a little different. We've created an environment that's focused on my staff. So we're only open 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're closed on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are closed. And we only serve dinner on Friday and Saturday. And what that allows them is they all work 5 days a week, and they work with me for dinner. And in July, we do 4 charity events. This is one of them. And it allows us to give back to the community. And what's interesting to me is when I ask them if this is something that we can do together, they always respond with enthusiasm. And that's because I don't ask them to do it all the time. You know, they have families, and they are part of my family. They know my children. And so that's really, you know, I think that's the soul of this restaurant. Tequila is a component of our business. It doesn't drive our business. There was a time when I wanted it to, and I've had to realize that you know, that's just not the kind of restaurant I run. But I do try to have a broad variety, and mezcal has come on greatly. And we make what we call mezcalitas, and we use a lot of local fruit. Right now we're making watermelon. Last week it was peach, lime. We'll make cucumber and mint mezcalitas. So they kind of roll with the season here. And then, you know, as far as the different kinds of tacos, tonight you've already had a few dry tacos with the deseo taco, which was the shrimp taco that you had. We're now going to be putting out what's called a guasido, which is a wet taco, and that's kind of a northern Mexican taco cart thing. It's where it's stewed meat, so we'll have a chili chicken and an adobo pork on the stand here. We'll also have a mushroom and vegetable and brown rice that you can add. You can make your tacos with too if you're a vegan or vegetarian. And then we'll be passing our fish tacos and a taco pastor, which is a pork taco, and a few other tacos. So from my staff and the people at Estia's Little Kitchen, I want to thank you all for coming and welcome.
I have one question.
Okay.
What is your most popular taco?
Chili chicken, I think.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say? Yeah. Our fish tacos are very popular. We offer fish tacos 2 ways. Grilled fish tacos, here's another little tidbit. I once took my family to Cabo San Lucas, and we took a day and went north to Todos Santos, which I highly recommend if you're in that area. And we had lunch at a place called Tequila Sunrise, which was across the street from the Hotel California, which is, you know, some people say it's true. I don't know. The guy at the restaurant didn't care. He just said, I hope everybody believes it, because they're all coming to see it. And I loved his food. And I asked him about the seasoning that he had on his fish tacos, and he called it sofrito. Now, when I was a little kid, I lived in Puerto Rico, and I know sofrito from Puerto Rico. But in this case, sofrito can be anything. It's similar to chimichurri. If you've ever been down to that area, every restaurant has chimichurri, and it's always different in Uruguay and Buenos Aires and Argentina. And the trick there is, there was a guy years ago, back in the 20s, an Indian guy that was fishing in Argentina, and he asked the restaurateur for what did he ask for? He asked for curry, and he said, "Let me get my cook out." And the cook came out, and he said, "What do you need, sir?" In his broken language, and he said, "I want curry. Give me curry." And 20 minutes later, the guy comes out and he puts this on the table, and the guy says, "What is this?" And he says, "Chimichurri. It's what you asked for." So it's always different. And in this case, our sofrito is finely diced bell pepper, red and green, jalapeno, a little bit of garlic, and olive oil. And we macerate that for about a week before it comes out to the table. And I think there's a lot to say for allowing those ingredients to spend time together. And that completely brings our grilled tacos into another level, I think. And we do the same thing when people want fried tacos. We call them Baja style. And we roll them in egg whites and panko breadcrumbs and then fry them. And our fry oil is changed every day. And I think that's kind of like an important thing when you're in a small space like this.
Great. Well, we have tacos ready to eat, or are there other questions?
Juji.
More questions or no?
If you have questions, great, because it's going to take us 5 minutes to go from 0 to 60.
I've always wondered this, and now I think hearing you, I kind of know the answer, but like, especially during COVID and seeing this whole back area just packed and everyone lined up, and why haven't you ever opened up the back to table service? I think it's because you want your staff to not be overworked, but like, why? Like,
It's really simple. The zoning doesn't allow it.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. What's happened here is we're only allowed to serve 40 people at a time.
Gotcha.
And so when I went to try to accomplish that goal, they said, "Sure, you can do it." The first thing you have to do is buy 2 acres of land and donate it to a conservancy. The second thing you have to do is pave the majority of your property. So I would have lost all my gardens. And COVID allowed us to open up the door to serving people outside. And as long as I closed the deal at the door, that's why we're kind of strict about making sure that everybody pays. Then you've bought the property, you brought the product, and you're using my land. But it's a little gray, you know, but it's a lot less so than other places.
It's working.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
I was just always curious.
Thank you for asking. Anyone
Any other
else?
questions?
Okay, we're going to put some tacos out in about 5 minutes. So come on, Caesar will make you a drink if you'd like another drink.
Thank you all.
We have